Welcome to Creepy Corner Stories, where the shadows whisper and fear takes form. Tonight, we dive into the scariest horror stories ever told, tales of haunted places, cursed objects, and encounters with the unknown. Why do we fear what we cannot see? Is it just our minds playing tricks, or is something truly lurking in the dark? From real-life paranormal encounters to terrifying urban legends, these stories have left people questioning reality. And remember, the most chilling tales are the ones that never really end. So turn off the lights, listen closely, and ask yourself, are you truly alone? Let's begin with the horror tonight. Story: The Watcher in the Window. It started as a whisper. At first, Emma thought it was the wind slipping through the cracks of her old bedroom window. But as the nights passed, the whispering grew clearer, closer. Then came the knocking. At first, it was faint, like fingernails tapping against the glass. The second night, it was louder, more insistent. On the third night, as she lay frozen in bed, the knocking turned into scraping. Something was outside. Something wanted in. Heart pounding, Emma reached for her phone to turn on the flashlight. That's when she saw it. Pressed against the window was a face, pale, hollow-eyed, grinning. Its mouth was stretched too wide, lips cracked and bleeding, its breath fogging up the glass. But the worst part? Its eyes weren't looking at her. They were looking past her. Emma's stomach twisted as she realized it wasn't trying to get in. It was watching something behind her. She felt the breath on her neck before she could even turn. And then everything went dark. Story: The Man in the Keyhole. Lena had always loved old hotels, the eerie hallways, the vintage decor, the feeling of stepping back in time. But this time, something felt wrong. The receptionist had given her an odd look when handing over the key. "You're in room 306, he said, hesitating. "Just don't look through the keyhole." She laughed it off. Just another silly ghost story. That night, as she lay in bed, she felt uneasy. The room was cold, too cold. The silence felt heavy, pressing against her chest. Unable to sleep, her curiosity got the best of her. She went to the door. She bent down and peeked through the keyhole. At first, she saw nothing, just a deep crimson red, like someone had draped a cloth over the peephole. Confused, she returned to bed, but sleep never came. Something felt off. The next morning, she mentioned it to the receptionist. His face went pale. "People say that room is haunted," he murmured. "Years ago, a man murdered his wife in there. Ever since, guests have reported strange things." Lena's stomach twisted. "But what about the keyhole?" The receptionist swallowed hard. "That's because she's still there, and her eyes, they're completely red." Story: The Smiling Thing. Jack had always hated walking home alone at night, but his car was in the shop, and the last bus had already left. The streets were empty, the air unnervingly still. He shoved his hands into his pockets and picked up the pace. That's when he heard the footsteps. Soft at first, just a faint shuffle behind him. He turned. No one was there. He walked faster. The footsteps followed. Jack's heart pounded. He was only a few blocks from home now. He glanced back again, still nothing. But when he turned forward, his breath caught in his throat. Someone was standing under the streetlight ahead, a tall, thin figure, perfectly still. Their head tilted to one side as if studying him. Jack swallowed hard and stepped to the side to cross the street. The figure moved with him, slow and deliberate, never breaking eye contact. That's when he saw the face, or rather, the smile. A grin stretched impossibly wide, frozen, unnatural. Too many teeth, too perfect, too wrong. The figure didn't blink, didn't breathe, just stood there smiling. Jack ran. He sprinted the last block to his apartment, heart slamming against his ribs. He fumbled with his keys, threw the door open, and locked it behind him. Safe. He was safe. He exhaled, shaking. Then slowly he turned to his dark living room, and there, standing in the corner, was the figure, still smiling. Story: The Whispering Room. It started the first night Olivia moved into her new apartment. She was exhausted from unpacking, but as she lay in bed, drifting off, she heard it. A whisper. Soft, faint, impossible to make out. She sat up, heart pounding. The apartment was empty, no TV, no radio, just silence. Maybe she imagined it, but the next night it happened again, closer. The third night she stayed awake, phone in hand, recording. At 3:13 a.m., the whisper returned, right next to her ear. She bolted upright, turned on the lights, and played the recording. At first, just static, but then in a low, rasping voice she heard it. "Let me in." She barely had time to scream before the closet door, which had been closed, slowly creaked open. Story: The Reflection That Stayed. Mia had always hated the old mirror in her grandmother's house. It was massive, stretching from floor to ceiling, its surface warped with age. But what unsettled her most was how it always felt wrong. One night, while staying over, Mia got up for water. As she passed the mirror in the dim hallway, something made her stop. Her reflection wasn't moving. She lifted a shaking hand. Her reflection stayed perfectly still. A cold wave of fear crawled up her spine. That wasn't her. Then, slowly, the reflection smiled. Not a normal smile. A wide, twisted grin that stretched too far, revealing teeth that weren't hers. Mia stumbled back, heart pounding. The reflection took a step forward. She turned and ran, slamming the bedroom door behind her. She didn't sleep, she didn't move. And when morning finally came, she knew she had to check. The mirror was empty, her reflection was gone, and then a whisper behind her. "Found you." Story: The Thing Under the Bed. Liam had always slept with one foot dangling off the bed, until the night something grabbed it. It started as a tickle, a light brush against his skin. Half asleep, he pulled his foot back under the covers. But then fingers wrapped around his ankle, cold, thin, and impossibly long. His breath caught in his throat. He yanked his foot up, heart hammering. Silence. Maybe he imagined it. Maybe it was just his mind playing tricks. Then, from the darkness beneath his bed, he heard it. A slow, scratching sound, long nails dragging against the wood. His pulse pounded in his ears. He didn't want to look. He couldn't look. But then a voice, low, raspy, inhuman, whispered from the shadows below him. "I thought you were asleep." The bed shifted. Something was crawling out. Story: Don't Answer the Door. It was almost midnight when Ben heard the knock. 3 slow, deliberate taps. He froze. No one ever knocked this late. His apartment was on the 4th floor, and the building's front entrance was always locked. No buzz from the intercom, no footsteps in the hall, just knocking. 3 more taps. Louder. His phone buzzed. A text from his neighbor across the hall. "Don't open the door, no matter what you hear." Ben's blood ran cold. He stared at the door, heart hammering. The knocking turned to pounding. Then a voice. "Ben, let me in." His stomach twisted. They knew his name, the peephole. He had to check. He slowly stepped forward, pressing his eye to the glass. The hallway was empty. Then, a grin filled the peephole. Pale lips stretched impossibly wide, teeth too sharp, eyes black and hollow. Ben stumbled back. The voice outside laughed. "I see you." The doorknob started to turn. Story: The Last Passenger. It was past midnight when Ethan got on the last bus home. The streets were empty, the air heavy with silence. Only a few other passengers sat scattered in their seats, staring out the windows, lost in their own worlds. Then at the next stop she got on. A woman in a tattered black dress, her face hidden beneath long, tangled hair. She moved without a sound, gliding down the aisle before sitting in the very last row. Ethan shivered. There was something wrong about her. As the bus continued, he noticed something strange. No one else seemed to see her. The driver never looked her way. The other passengers didn't react. And then, through the reflection in the window, Ethan saw it. The woman wasn't sitting. She was hovering. Her feet never touched the ground. His breath caught. Slowly, he turned his head to look directly at her, but she was already staring at him. Her face was pale, her eyes sunken, her lips moving silently. She was whispering something. Ethan's phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. He looked down. "Don't turn around." The bus lights flickered, and then cold fingers wrapped around his shoulder. Story: The Wrong Shadow. It was late when Daniel locked up the bookstore. The streets were empty, the only light coming from the flickering street lamps. He sighed, adjusting his bag, and started walking home. That's when he noticed the shadow. At first, it moved with him, stretching across the pavement. But then, it didn't. Daniel froze. His breath caught in his throat. His shadow was still walking. It took another step forward, then another, and then it turned around. There was nothing there. Nothing to cast it, The shadow twitched, its shape distorted, stretching unnaturally, growing taller. It had fingers now, long, sharp, reaching. Daniel ran. He sprinted down the street, heart pounding, but the shadow moved faster. It glided across the pavement, stretching toward him. He reached his apartment, fumbling with his keys, shoving the door open. Safe. He was safe. Shaking, he turned on every light, checking the floor. His shadow was there, normal, perfectly normal. He let out a breath. Maybe he imagined it. Maybe it was just exhaustion. Then he glanced at the mirror. His reflection had no shadow, and behind him, something else did. Story: The Room That Doesn't Exist. Mark had lived in his apartment for over a year, but somehow he never noticed the door at the end of the hallway. It was just there one day. Frowning, he ran his fingers over the old wooden frame. The paint was chipped, the handle rusted. How had he never seen it before? He tried turning the knob, locked. That night, as he lay in bed, he heard it. A soft knocking from inside the room. His stomach twisted. Maybe it was just the pipes. Maybe he was imagining it. But the next night, it happened again, louder, more insistent. On the third night, Mark had enough. He grabbed a crowbar and forced the door open. The room was empty. Dust covered the floor. The walls were cracked. There was nothing inside. No furniture, no windows, just an old, rotting smell, like something had been left to decay. Then he saw the footprints, a trail of them leading from the center of the room, straight to where he was standing. Mark's breath hitched. He turned to run, but behind him, the door slammed shut, and from the darkness, something exhaled. If you enjoyed this story and want more terrifying tales, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Creepy Corner Stories. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a new nightmare. Until next time, sleep tight if you can.